asking yourself this question. If the people closest to you would read what you're writing, would you be comfortable with that? Often when we write personal stories as writers, we tend to get carried away. We tend to share too much information, and it might land us in trouble. So this is something that you should always ask yourself before sharing this question, before sharing anything that's personal to yourself online. The second layer, or the second filter through which we'll measure our privacy, is asking yourself this question. Suppose you visit any random cafe or any random tourist place, and if some random stranger who's sitting right in front of you, if that person reads what you're writing, and if they know that it's you, would that affect you in any way? This is again a very, the answer to this question will vary a lot depending on who you are, where you're working, and what kind of personal information you're sharing. Like, for example, when I started writing, I used to share stuff, I used to share information about my political beliefs. And I thought it was completely okay because writing on a public platform, anybody is allowed to share their political opinions, right? But later on, I realized that when you are putting yourself out there as a public figure and you have a particular niche, like the niche that I chose was personal development, self improvement. So my audience is used to hearing articles about on these topics from me. So when I shared stuff about my political beliefs, it tended to polarize people a lot. Like people who did not agree with my political views, they started posting hate comments, which was very rare for me because for a self-development writer, self-improvement writer, you wouldn't expect hate comments on your articles, right? But then I realized that okay, when I am writing on a public platform, it's my responsibility to take care of my audience as well and my audience's beliefs. And that is when I decided to steer clear of these kind of polarizing topics. So politics is something which can be very personal and you can feel very strongly about it. But if you share too much about your political beliefs in your to your audience, it might have a very polarizing effect. It can lead to a lot of hate from the people around you as well, especially if you have thoughts that don't conform with the people around you. This is one example, and another example is like talking about your the places that you have been to, right? Like in today's times, it's very easy for us to share too much in the hope of being helpful. Like I know a lady, a female writer, who used to share deep and intimate details about her routine online, like which cafe she goes to for work every morning. And I remember she told me that when she found, when she went to a cafe one day, there was one person who was sitting there and he asked her, "Oh, are you this writer? I read your article online." And she was shocked because she was not used to finding somebody there. So this question, this situation could easily have been avoided if this lady writer, kept in mind the second filter or the second layer of privacy which I was talking about, which is as a writer, if you visit any tourist place, any public place, and any random stranger who is there, if they see you and if they know that particular information about you, would it affect you in any way? Would it harm you? Would it make you feel bad? Would it make you feel unsafe? So, all of these questions we need to keep in mind. Also, one fun example of something that recently happened with me. So, a few months back, I wrote a post on LinkedIn about my daily routine as a writer, which involved sitting every day outside in the sun and writing in my journal for 1 hour. And I also added a picture of myself along with that post. The most shocking part was somebody who lives in the apartment just opposite to me saw that post, saw that picture, and they sent me a message on LinkedIn that, "Oh, do you live in this particular apartment? Because the photo looks like this, looks like the view from my balcony." And I was so shocked. It was actually scary because when we are sharing information out there, we assume that, okay, some random people on the internet are going to read it. We never consider how this might affect us, how this might come back to us, and how if people close to us know these questions, know this information, it might hamper us as well. And especially as women, women writers, the safety issue also comes into place. Like if a stranger knows where you live, if they knows your political beliefs, your religious, sexual beliefs, if they know where you live, your routine, it can have a lot of impact, which is like very scary to even think about. Yeah, so we should always I'll just quickly sum up and then we'll do a small Q&A. So two questions that you should always ask yourself before writing any kind of personal stories online. The first is, would you be comfortable if your boss, co-workers, colleagues, or family members knew these information about yourself? And the second is, when you go to a public place, if a random person across the street knows that about you, would it hamper you in any way? And then we have to filter other information and then write the stories in the way we want to. So yes, there it's possible to also like be authentic and be vulnerable without sharing too much information about yourself. You can share about your ideas, you can share about your thoughts, you can share about what interesting, unique observations on the world you had. You can do all of that without sharing any explicit personal information about yourself. And don't worry, your vulnerability or your authenticity or the relatability factor that you have with your readers won't be compromised as well. All right, so I think I have spoken enough for now. I would love to know if anybody has anything to say. Also, there are a few people in the moderation room. I am not sure if I should add them. I'll just try to add a few people. If you want to talk, you can come on board and share your thoughts as well. Also, the people who are listening, please do leave your thoughts, questions, or anything that you have to add, or anything that you would like me to add in the comments, in the chat section. If anybody is there from moderation, can you please help me add people to the call? I think there's something whenever I'm clicking the plus button, people are just disappearing. Maybe it's some tech glitch at my end. Uh, but to all the people who are currently listening, I would love to know that has anything happened like to you that you did not want to happen for the sake of being authentic? Like, maybe you shared too much information just for the sake of being authentic, and then it came back to you in a good way or in a bad way. Both are possible, right? And this reminds me, it is actually possible for good things to happen as well if you share personal information online. One small example, this happened way back in 2015 when I was a college student. And I used to write answers on this platform called Quora. And I always mentioned that I am from this particular department in this particular college. And in there was one topic that I wrote a deeply personal answer on, and that topic was, what is a book that you wish to read but you have never read? And I mentioned about this book called 1984 by George Orwell. That book had always been on my list, but for some reason I never got the chance to read it. And I wrote that answer. That answer went sort of viral, got a lot of views. It went viral. Imagine to my shock, the next day when I went to the department, I had a parcel waiting for me. That parcel was from some anonymous reader. Till date, I have no clue who sent that. But it was addressed to me, and the parcel had this book, 1984 by George Orwell. And I was so surprised and so shocked because I had never expected somebody would actually read my post and think that, okay, this person wants to read this book, so I send this book to them. That was a sweet surprise. That obviously has happened only once in my life so far. But yeah, like sometimes sharing personal information might also have these unwanted benefits, unplanned benefits, or unexpected perks, whatever you'd like to call them. So yes, please do use the Q&A section too to let me know your thoughts. Uh, Tell listeners they can. Oh, yes. What are your thoughts about using your real name on Medium? So, definitely, Kelly, thank you so much for the question. And I use my real name on Medium. That's because I share very non polarizing content on Medium. Most of my stuff is about personal development and all the experiments that I do on myself. So, this information does not harm me in any way. That's why I feel that yes, it's okay to share my personal name in this case. But I also have a friend who is an Indian and she writes articles about sex and she writes erotica as well. So it is impossible that she can share this with her own personal name because from India, we are from India, and it's not like safe for people to know that this woman writes erotica or thinks about sex. So she uses a pseudonym, she uses a pen name. So that depends upon people and the kind of content that you're sharing. Does it fit in with your real life persona? Will it hamper you in any way if the people around you know that you write about this content? So I think there is no fixed answer to this question, but yes, it depends upon what you write. Okay, do you have examples on how to be authentic, vulnerable without sharing personal stories? Thank you, Manisha, for this question. My answer would be if you want to be authentic, vulnerable, and not share personal stories, then you can share about your ideas or your observations on the world. Like, some curious idea you had or some interesting observation that you made. These things can be shared without actually revealing your name or where you live or where you go and have food or where you go to do yoga. So, all these things can be shared. So, if you talk about ideas, observations, abstract stuff, then I believe that you don't have to share too much personal information about yourself. For example, if you read the kind of articles that I write on Medium, I share very vulnerable stuff really close to my heart regarding to health, fitness, mental health, etc. But all of these stories they don't involve where I live or what I eat for lunch. So that is how I balance the security and the authenticity factors of writing personal stories. Are you comfortable reading those of us women who write very personal stories? Hello, Carol. Thank you for this question. And yes, I am definitely comfortable reading women who write personal stories. It doesn't like, as a writer, I feel that, I have learned to be open minded at this point. I know that people are different and people have different experiences and Me now. I hope you can hear me now. Please let me know if you can hear me. Sorry, there was some issue, I guess, on my side. I hope the mute being on mute issue is sorted. Okay, thank you so much. I am so happy that we can hear me. All right. So hello, Karen. So nice to have you here. Would you have Do you have anything to add here? All right. So that. Uh, Kelly has shared that I have used my real name across several platforms. I had a man message me on Facebook about an article that upset him on Medium. I'm a trans woman. This really scared me. I'm so sorry that you had to go through something like this, Kelly. This has happened to me as well. Like, I use my real name across several platforms, and I have had people send me death threats that, this is unacceptable that you are writing about something like this. And that topic was about a very non-conformist view that I had. And this was way back in like 2016 when I was young and I wasn't really sure what my niche was. After that, I have worked a lot. I have worked really hard to refine my voice and refine my online persona. So I don't really share too much polarizing stuff that I think or feel, because it doesn't matter how I am as a person. I have to, like, as a writer, as a public personality, I have to refine what I show the world, how much of myself I am showing to the world. And I think that's your responsibility as a writer as well, to only share information that you are comfortable with people knowing. So another question from Liz: what about anonymity? The Guardian has columnists such as the secret footballer and the secret health consultant, which are well read. Are there examples of this on Medium? Yes, there are many writers who don't use their real name on Medium. I have come across many people like that, especially people who write erotica or write about sexuality. They don't use their real name. They have, there was this publication I really enjoyed reading on Medium, and the editor of the publication was called Average Don Juan. He did not use his real name, for obvious reasons, because running an erotica publication must be really hard, doing it with your real name. All right. So thank you so much, all of you lovely people, for attending this session with me. There were some technical issues. I know, my bad. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this session, that I am doing it from the airport because I have a flight to attend in like 20 minutes from now. So it was little glitchy, but thank you so much for your patience, and thank you so much for attending. And if we still have like 5 more minutes. So if you have any other questions that you would like to share or anything that you would like to add, please use the chat section. Okay. I know there are so many sessions currently going on, but I am so happy that you people chose to attend mine and stuck until the end. Thank you so much for attending. My name is Anangsha, like I mentioned, and my profile, I'm going to leave a link to my Medium profile in the chat box. So if we are not connected yet, please go through my profile, and I would love to connect with all of you as well. Yes, I've just shared my profile link in the chat box. Also, if any of you who's attending this call have a Medium profile, please leave your profile links in the chat box. I would love to read what you write. I'd love to hear your thoughts and connect with you after this call is over. I'll also quickly take a picture of the screen before we leave. Thank you, Karina, for wishing me safe travels. Really means a lot. Thank you for attending. As a closing thought to this talk, I would also like to add that if you really feel compelled to share personal stories, that's completely okay. But always keep in mind that sometimes we feel some information might be necessary, but actually it's not. Say, for example, you're talking about your daily routine, or you're talking about the good habits that you've built, then you can talk about just the habits or just your routine without mentioning the names of specific locations or specific times of the day when you are doing these habits. So that way you can protect yourself, you can protect your privacy from random strangers on the internet. Yes, and I hope this was helpful for you. I had a lot of fun and I really loved all your questions. Thank you so much for sharing your profiles as well, Manisha and Lacey and Bryony. I'm going to follow all of you and I'm going to read all of your stories. I'm really grateful and happy that you chose to attend this session. All right, so we are at the last 2 minute mark. So I'm going to end this session right now. But please definitely stay in touch with me. Follow me on Medium. I will follow all of you back. And yes, have a happy time writing personal stories. And if you have any other questions, you can always email me. I'm going to leave my email as well in the chat box. Yep, feel free to email me your stories if you want a review on, is this too personal, is this too non-personal or not vulnerable. I would love to help you out on this as well. Thank you so much, lovely people. Have a great day. Yeah, I have followed Lindsay, I have followed Lacey, I have followed Manisha as well. Yep, definitely hope to stay in touch with you after this call. All right, people. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you for listening.